pages. I commend her thoughts and experiences to you in all of their unconventionality as a prophet's voice that so many of us need to hear. James Ehrman, Executive Director, Love 146, Associate Research Fellow, Rivendell Institute at Yale University. Why Bandersnatch? Bandersnatch was first introduced to the English language by Lewis Carroll when he penned his children's classic Through the Looking Glass and later in various other works. A Bandersnatch, while more commonly known as the wild, ferocious, mythical creature of Carroll's creation, has also been defined in modern terms as a person with uncouth or unconventional habits and attitudes, even as someone considered to be a bit of a troublemaker or nuisance. Mix all these definitions together, and on the surface it looks like we have a mostly bad personality on our hands. Does this make you wonder why I would want to take an almost always negative noun and use it as the title and theme for my book? Let me explain. In the 2010 Disney film adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, the Bandersnatch, along with most of the other underworld creatures, was trapped in captivity to the evil Red Queen. Their true natures were suppressed from the dark cloud of her tyrannical rule and from the constant threat of getting beheaded if they didn't toe her rules and regime to the exact letter. But when Alice falls down the rabbit hole and discovers that her purpose for being in Wonderland is to fulfill the prophecy of overthrowing the oppressive systems of the Red Queen, she commits several impossible acts of bravery to achieve that objective. When that objective is met, the power of the Red Queen's evil empire dissolves, the bondage over all the creatures is broken, and they return to their bona fide identities, including the Bandersnatch. While the Bandersnatch is still a rather untamed and frightening beast with unpredictable habits and unconventional attitudes, he is also good, because his fierceness, his troublemaking, his nuisance-bearing disposition is now submitted to a better cause, the dominion of the kind and good White Queen. Keeping that story in mind, this book is an invitation to turn the word into a verb. I'm inviting you to Bandersnatch. That is, to acknowledge and embrace the unconventional habits and attitudes that are your birthright, to grapple with what has dominion over you, and to become a bit of a nuisance to the unhelpful, unhealthy, and often harmful systems of the human-made kingdom. Within the process, I believe you will begin to reimagine your very own soul and its unique outpourings in the world, to jump into your singular skin, to discover and live as your true self. Your true self, in its purest form, is what I would define as a love affair between God and your only inherent DNA. When the Spirit of God and the soul of you have a meeting within your body, what gets born again and again and again is your true self, your true identity. The false self is the part of you that is born from your ego and functions separately from divine accord. I believe one of the central endeavors of the human experience is to consciously discover the intimacies of who we already are. As in, life is not about building an alternate name for ourselves. It's about discovering the name we already have. But how do we begin or continue the process of unearthing the truth of our intrinsic selves? Most people I know have intentionally invested in some form of self-discovery for some period of time. And yet, how many of us feel we could put language around the parameters of our uncommon inner workings? If I asked you to, could you raise your hand right now and say unequivocally, "This is who I am," or "I am this"? I'm not talking about your ability to tell me what your job is or your confidence in saying, "I am a child of God." What I am asking is this. Within the framework of being a child of God, what part of God do you represent? Do you know where you begin and where you end? Do you know the here-to-here of your uniqueness? Do you know, as John Duns Scotus puts it, your universal individual thisness? Before we move on, and in the quietness of your own heart, I think it's important to ask yourself, do I know the words that describe who I am? It shouldn't be that hard, but it often is. And though we can never lose our true selves, those selves can get buried under all kinds of horse feathers and hogwash, stuff and senselessness, and we can fall short of grasping, comprehending, or realizing who we really are. And why is that, do you suppose? If we each have a unique blueprint coded and stitched right into our singular selves, why can't we seem to put a finger to it and catch our own pulse? What do you imagine our identities are buried beneath? I don't think it's a stretch to say that the great boring and blaring voices of mainstream culture have made whole oppressive systems out of what it means to be a human, what it means to be normal, how exactly everyone should follow the status quo, A plus B plus believe this and